A new OWCS contender has revealed themselves. On a random Saturday afternoon, out of nowhere, we get a bombshell drop of a roster, and it could be one of the best rosters ever assembled in the history of Overwatch esports. Please welcome Team Falcons to the stage, who are going to be participating in OWCS Asia. Their team is going to consist of Smurf, Hanbin, Proper, Stalker, alexyOWL, Fielder, and Sirmajed. This roster is incredibly powerful from top to bottom. They're extremely well-rounded, and a bunch of them have already played alongside one another, as you may recognize a bunch of these guys playing formerly on Team Hamster, who dominated in the Overwatch OWCS Korea event during the winter. Just a couple weeks prior, Hanbin announced that Team Hamster was looking for some kind of team to pick them up. They wanted to sign with an org and get some guaranteed contracts going, and it seems that Team Falcons ended up being the highest bidder. What's interesting about where these guys decided to sign is that Team Falcons is a Saudi Arabian-based esports organization, so seeing them go over to Korea to compete is a little interesting, but at the end of the day, they want to win as an org, and the players just wanted to have that financial security. And right now, in the current state of esports, what better way is there than to get that Saudi esports money? That's where all of it lies, and we're probably going to see some other superstar-like talent do a similar thing. You gotta get some kind of living, you gotta chase the bag, so can't blame these guys at all. They're the top at their craft, they're the best players in the world, and they're the ones that deserve that money. And of course, when considering how strong this team is from top to bottom, there is a big-time chance that they will be participating in the international events this year, so it'll be more than just sticking to Asia. They'll be looking to take over the entire world with this type of team. And hey, with who they're rocking with, they just might do it. Again, they've got a great winning combination going on. You have basically a lot of the top percentile players at their positions, if not number one in the world, and they already have the synergy. alexyOWL, Fielder, Hanbin, they played together a lot on Dallas back in the day, and then you add in Proper and Stalker, who played with them in the OWCS tournament, and you have what should be a recipe for success. Now, there are some interesting disparities with this roster compared to the OWCS Hamster team. If you actively watched that event back during the winter, you'll realize that there's a lack of Fearless going on and that they replaced him with Smurf, and the reason for that is that Fearless actually wasn't interested in competing in APAC. He's looking for a team abroad, either in NA or EU, so I'm sure he'll link up with a good team in one of those regions eventually. So with him out of the picture, they needed to try and replace him with another best possible talent out there, and I can't think of a better replacement than Smurf. You're replacing Fearless with a guy who is basically just as good at Winston, and he has a more versatile and deep hero pool overall, where he's at least competent or elite on most of the tanks in the game. And if there is a world where there's something he's not comfortable on, you've got Hanbin right there. It is a perfect duo. But honestly, Smurf is like the tiny thing in comparison to getting Sirmajed on this team. Man sticks out like a sore thumb considering he's the only non-Korean player on the team. A lot of people will sit here and say why? Why the heck even bring him on here? Is he even gonna play? And while that is a fair question, the answer is very simple. Team Falcons, again, is a Saudi Arabian esports organization. Just knowing that fact alone, they probably felt obligated to have some kind of Saudi Arabian representation on there, and if that's the case, you might as well go with one of the best possible options on the market, and Sirmajed fits the bill. Now, it's fair to assume he probably wouldn't play that much from a synergy standpoint, but there could be some situations where he is useful, depending on what the meta evolves into. As Fielder isn't really known as that fragging flex support, he can be, but Majed is a lot more aggressive, and that type of style could be more useful depending on what the hero needs are. And maybe you can even throw him in there with Fielder for a double flex setup. There's a lot of choices that you can have there. They could support him well and let him thrive if given the opportunity. Again, I think it will be very limited in terms of how much we see him, but there is a world where he could be of use to this team. Team Falcons is just absolutely insane, man. Take out the question marks that you have with Majed or whatever else, and you're just left with an unbelievable player at every single position. Guys that have synergy with one another, former Overwatch League champions, guys that are hungry to compete. this roster from top to bottom is going to be absurdly hard to defeat. Starting up top at the tank line, Smurf and Hanbin are literally two of the greatest tank players to ever grace the game. In some people's eyes, actually I'd say in most, Smurf is the literal GOAT of tanks. They'll be able to play most, if not all, tank heroes in the game at an extremely effective level. They'll have their specialties where they dominate, and in other cases, they'll just get the job done. They'll be good at dive, rush, shield setups, you name it, they'll be strong. They'll have an excellent rotation going on. You could very easily play around either of these guys as they can make a bunch of plays all by themselves. We've especially seen what Hanbin can do in this setup in the past during his OWL days, and even a little bit during the World Cup. Just an absolute insane gamer. And with Smurf there, with his ability to adapt to any situation and still thrive, I think that they have a really good system going on where they can switch up what playstyle they have and how aggressive they want to be. The leadership at this position alone is outstanding, and it will be well needed to get through this long season. But it doesn't even end there, right? I mean, Fielder and Chio are one of the greatest backlines ever assembled. We've seen them find success across multiple teams in multiple stages throughout their careers. And even though they've had some chokes here and there, we know that they're almost always going to be reliable, especially when they have a great team surrounding them. And, if needed, you can throw Majed in there just to change up the style or your hero needs, depending on the situation. They've got a great balance and potential rotation going on with their backline, and they should dominate the competition with ease. And then you round it out with one of the most ridiculous-looking young DPS cores of all time. Proper and Stalker, two hyper flex players playing side by side. If you didn't watch Flash Ops, you may question this DPS line since their hero pools are somewhat similar and they don't have a quote-unquote dedicated hit scan, but let me tell you, it doesn't matter. They're going to be completely fine. And as we've seen from the Flash Ops event, both of them can take over on a dime at any given moment. They take turns. There is actually a good balance between them. It's not a bad thing to have overlap when both of them can play most things in the game. They can both play projectile and hit scan at a very high level, as we've seen throughout the last couple of years of professional Overwatch's lifetime. They can both play Tracer, Genji, and Echo for dive setups. We've seen Proper dominate on sniper heroes, and they've both shown the ability to be very capable, if not dangerous, sojourns. When you have two superstar hyperflexes playing together like this, there's going to be very little holes to expose. And given the resources they have, again, it's kind of scary to think about how far they could go as a duo. Playmaking is just beyond covered with a giant blanket on this team. Everybody is capable of taking over the game, and with the synergy and their motivation to compete and win, this team really might go all the way. As of right now, with all the information we know, they might be the #1 contender in OWCS, if not in that top tier. At this point, it would take a monumental choke, internal implosion, or like the worst meta humanly possible for them to not be in that top echelon. I am very excited to watch Team Falcons take the stage very, very soon, and I look forward to seeing how much they can dominate the competition, and if anybody truly has a chance. Let me know what you think of this roster down in the comments below. Is there any way these guys choke? Are you somehow unimpressed? Let me know all your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to stay up to date with all the most recent OWCS roster news, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Peace.